Okie dokie, we're headed towards the sewing machine, and I wanted to show you this very high-tech piece of equipment I use to roll my welt cord off with. And basically it's a discarded milk carton and an old piece of metal rotting. And the real key is that it's underneath the sewing machine and it pulls straight up so that I don't get any kinks in my welt cord as I make this. So, and here is my beloved sewing machine, my Bernina. And let me tighten this up. And we are ready to roll. So basically when I make welt cord, I cut these pieces just a minute ago. And the inside is the right side. And I normally open these in my lap. And so I open all of these up so that they're all facing right side up. And then I sort them by shorts and longs. And the reason is that as I sew them together, I'm going to take one long piece and then one short piece. So I've sorted them into two groups. Now then, those are going to go on my lap. Get my scissors out of my pocket so I don't cut the pocket or what's underneath it. And so initially when I sew this welt, the cover together, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take one long and one short. I'm going to put them on my lap that way so that I always put the shorts in front. I don't know why. Longs in the back. And as I pick these up, I'm going to pick up the left side of the shorts first, and then I'm going to pick up, I think I said that wrong. I want to pick up the right side of my lap first for the first piece, and then I want to take the left side from the short. And there's a reason for that, because what it does is that all the grain is going to be the same and going in the same direction. Now the one that's in my left hand, I'm going to turn over the top of my one that's in my right, and I'm going to square it off so that it's exactly square. Now then, as I get ready to go to my sewing machine, I'm going to use my two-toe, and I'm going to do this with short stitches. So I'm going to just sew from the divot there to the divot here, straight across. Okay. Let me get a little closer for you so you can see this, I think. That'll give you vertigo. And then the one that's on the bottom that I've just picked up again, I'm going to lay over here. And I'm really careful to make sure that this is the right side up. And then I'm going to grab from the right side of my lap again. And if you can tell, this is a little bit narrower for some reason. I don't know if you can tell that or not. So where this cutout is right here is where I'm actually going to start. I'm going to flip this over. And again, I'm going to sew in a diagonal this way. I'm going to chain these together. Now I'm going to pull this up off of my lap, making sure that the right side is up. Grab the left side of the one that's left. And I'm going to flip this over on top of this one. And chain these together. So you do that for the duration of however many strips that you've got of cover. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clip them. So I clip them apart, and I'm going to clip about 1/4 inch. And the reason there's always stuff on my floor is because at this point I throw everything on the floor. Now then, as I'm making the welt, the reason I use these really tight little stitches is so that it won't pull apart. I'm going to finger press all of these open to reduce the bulk. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change to my zipper foot. My beloved Bernina, the needle moves, and so I'm going to move it to the left. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower so I get longer stitches. And I actually leave it in the lowest possible point on my Bernina. And the reason that works for me is because of the type of sewing machine I've got. I always leave my extra welt cord when I finish a job on, just in case I have to do something with it. So I'm going to cut the extra welt from the last job off. Throw that on the floor. Make sure that my welt will wind off properly, because it's usually underneath my sewing machine, next to my foot, so that in case I need to, I can stop it. So this is the welt cord I've talked to you about before. It has the polyester cellulose, I think is what they call it, on the inside, and then it has the polyester threads on it. And I'm going to start with my cover, and I'm going to find that first seam allowance and work back. I don't start sewing at the end. I start sewing in about 3 to 4 inches, because we're going to cut that off as we sew it to our first cushion. I never backstitch, and I start to sew. Now I'm going to sew my welt into the cover, because I am not good enough to simply sew the cover to the cushion cover like a lot of my friends are. And there is a little tiny bit of a bubble which you probably can't see, but what I do is when I fold my welt cover over my welt, I make sure that it goes straight over. I'm matching this seam, and I have a little bubble right there, and so I'm simply going to lift up my needle and fudge that bubble in. And you don't need to watch me do this. I'm just going to go down to the end. We call this idiot work, and this is what we do at the end of the day when I'm too tired to think, and I just want to make sure that everything's even. I have long stitches. My seam allowances are together. And I'm going to go to the end. Now here's my first join, and you can see how nice that looks on the right side. I'm just simply going to fold it over, fold it out, and finger press it. And I don't press mine to one side like a lot of people do, because I think that causes too much bulk on one side. And remember to use a really long stitch doing this. So 2 things happen now. By doing it with your zipper foot and keeping it tight but not too tight, when you go in with your welt foot, it covers up that initial stitching. And by keeping your cut edges together over here, this will give you exactly a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so your work today is to make 25 miles of welt, and be prepared for tomorrow when we're actually going to put the cushions together. Pretty exciting. That's it for now. Remember to go out and do something nice for somebody else today, and kiss your babies. Ta for now.